Here. That's such a good song. That song smacks. It just hits. It just bangs different. Happy hump day. It's Wednesday. It's February 10th. It's 2021, man. How we doing, chat? You guys doing all right? Mic, audio, we good? We vibing? I guess I don't need this today. Sounds like it's just me. I know. We like hearing me yell and scream at Raj. But some days Raj is busy. Today, one of those days, he doesn't want to come here and hold them L's. I get it. He took all those L's to me yesterday, and doesn't want to come collect and come correct. Hey, last night, lots of 60 bombs, lots of 60 bombs, a lot of them, 5 of them. It was nuts. It was stupid. My favorite 2 players on the slate were Joel Embiid, Nikola Vucevic. So I had a big part of those 2 6s. Donovan Mitchell without Mike Conley. 9 assists, 36 real points. Daggered him. Great game from him. 8,100. Like I said, it felt like it could have been the Devin Booker spot, right? The 8-9+ K guard situation with Curry and Harden and Damian Lillard. Like all those guys are on the slate, just like the night before. I felt like he could have had that Devin Booker type of game, meaning he's essentially, the best play on the slate at that price. Big game from him if you had him. James Harden, 62. That's what you needed. That's what you want. De'Aaron Fox with a 60 bomb. Jimmy Buckets flirting with a triple-double again. Heard me talking about him not shooting threes. He decided to hit one. He want to do one. Dropped himself a 56. Josh Hart, questionable throughout the day. 20 real points, 17 rebounds, 40 minutes played. He was questionable. Oh, the questionable game lives. Mason Plumlee. You talk about best play of the game, the day. 50 fantasy points from him, 5,800. We love bigs against Brooklyn, especially without Kevin Durant. 38 minutes out of Plumlee. Plum Dog Millionaire got you there. Dame Dollar with a 50 bomb. Jeremy Grant was one of my core players last night, 47.25. And then DeLon Wright. I had an infatuation with DeLon Wright as well. So a lot of these high guys I was pretty high on. Steph Curry, I thought we were going to get more out of him. I think my only real L last night was Dejounte Murray. Not what you wanted out of Dejounte, or many of the Spurs, really. But Dejounte Murray dropped 14 fantasy points, 26 minutes played. So less minutes, less fantasy points, less production per minute than the game prior. But outside of that, last night kind of came through. I leaned on guys like James Ennis. I needed value. So guys like James Ennis were in the mix for me. Might have had a shot at Bacon. I did have too much Danny Green, but the fact that I was able to glue together 60 bombs using Danny Green is what it is. A little touch of Seth Curry. So last night actually ended up being a solid night. Could have been better. Definitely could have been worse though. Hopefully you guys made out well. If you didn't, there's always the next day, which is today. Man, it's a good day. It's gonna be a good day, chat. It's a good day. I got a brand new shipment of bangs this morning. So we're stocked for another week. And we're ready. We are ready. We are also live out there on youtube.com/Gundacker. Shout out to the live chat. Solid picks. Crispy, what is up, Gun? And remember when you could just make a team, score about 325, and win gobs of money? Man, the NBA DFS used to be so easy. I have screenshots where I've been in tournaments with 330, and nowadays 330 doesn't guarantee you cash, much less binking. What up, Dez? What up, Quan? What up, Gustavo? Been snapping. Gustavo says all my guys had 25 plus at halftime, all ended up with 35. Second half scoring has been a trend with my lineups. That's tough. That's tough, but man, it sure be like that. If you're in a slump, you just need more at bats. Hit through it. Be honest with yourself. look at your lineups. Ask yourself if you're making process mistakes. Comparing your lineups to some of the top lineups. And I wouldn't say top lineups in tournaments because I don't think that's a fair assessment because the best lineup pre-flop almost never wins a tournament, right? There's a lot of luck involved. But start comparing your lineups to stuff that's up there and kind of see what were the best plays and how you would have ever got on those plays. So, like today, we look at yesterday, Josh Hart, one of the best plays on the slate. I'd have never got to Josh Hart. I missed out on Josh Hart. Oh, well. He must have been 1% owned, if that. So don't fret on those guys. But, some days when you're over-relying on 10, 11K players, maybe think about your need or your skill level when it comes to selecting 7, 8K players and kind of build off that. But that's why I always like to start the stream off looking at the night before, just kind of see what happened, why it happened. Did fouls make somebody a better play? Did blowouts happen? But don't get down on yourself. Damian, Gunn almost took down last night on FanDuel. My lineup was DeLon Wright, Kyrie Irving, my boy Bruce Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Jeremy Grant, Joe Ingles, Jayshawn Tate, Zion, and Boogie. Boogie's another one, man. We're starting to turn. The field's starting to turn on Boogie. Back-to-back duds out of him. The first dud, really, both games were blowouts, but really the first dud was really blowout-based. Did we lose connection? It says YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, but it doesn't look like I'm dropping frames, so chat, if you lost me, if you can hear me, say, you're, Pete, I had Walker when the minutes limit came out. I pivoted to Bacon and Lonnie Walker minute restriction did come out, and that did make me, a lot of spots I kept Lonnie Walker, but yeah, it did have to pivot. Frank Mason in the spreadsheet, I think, was the top value play pre-flop, so I already had a nice chunk of him. It worked out. Like, I had enough. My value was right? Nothing was super elite, but the guys that I used the value to get did what they needed to do, so it worked out. We made some money last night. Finished 39th in the tournament last night. Jakob Poeltl. Oh, man. It was Poeltl down there. It was Boogie. It was Mason Plumlee. Willie Hernan Gomez, I think, was a solid play. There was some good cheap centers tonight, but those raw points at the top, man, Nikola Vucevic was so good. And he was too underpriced for a 60 bomb. And it wasn't like a abnormal thing either. My freaking conservative projection had him at 50 plus at under 9K, and it just felt like that was an obscene value to miss out on, I picked Boogie because of a revenge game, and he was starting at 6K. A lot of people did. It's tough. I was able to not be overexposed to Boogie on FanDuel just because of what I thought was at the top was worth having, the Embiid and Vucevic and Jeremy Grant. I think a couple guys asked me for core plays yesterday, and it was Vooch, it was Embiid, it was Jeremy Grant. And I thought you couldn't go wrong with the high dollar point guards yesterday. If you played Curry, you went wrong. I mean, it is what it is. Harden did his thing. I didn't have a ton of DeLon Wright in DFS, but I had a ton of DeLon Wright over 9.5 real points in prop betting. And he beat that one pretty quickly for me. So I appreciate that. Cat's expected to play. That's nice. Hey, let's get caught up on some news here. Fantasy Labs every day dropping that 3 p.m. tweet. See if we can't get right. So the big cat, Ernie Ladd, Karl-Anthony Towns expected to play coming back from COVID. Key news to watch: Anthony Davis questionable, LeBron James probable, Chris Paul questionable, Jay Crowder, OG Anunoby questionable, D'Angelo Russell questionable. Cat went from doubtful to expected to play. Patrick Beverley questionable. So I'll have to adjust the Cat status on my spreadsheet when we're going through games here. We got Utah Watanabe questionable. And the Thunder, another Thunder slate where everyone's hurt. Active players: Ham Diallo, Lou Dort, Darius Bazley, Isaiah Roby, Al Horford, Justin Jackson, Darius Miller, and Kenrich Williams. They have an 8-man active. Is that 8, right? Yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 active players, which is the minimum allowed to take the court in the NBA. So if something happens between now and lock and one of those guys go down, that game would end up being tossed away. So keep an eye on that because they are on ice. Speaking of on ice. You can only play Boogie in good matchups, teams weak versus centers. So, no. But I think Boogie's still Boogie. I never thought that Steven Adams was like the best matchup. But we got to be a little bit realistic with the last 2 games for the Rockets. I know they had a feel-good story going on. But first of all, Boogie was, I think, a point per minute greater against Charlotte, right? And the game just got away. And Boogie ended up not touching the court in the fourth quarter. It just, after his shift in the third quarter, the game was too far away to put him back in. So I only played 25 minutes. For 25 minutes of work for a per-minute basis for fantasy, it was all right. Yesterday was definitely worse. The matchup got tougher. But it was another game that kind of got away. He didn't touch the court in the fourth quarter. So I think the sentence you can only play him in good matchups isn't like that true. I think it's more so you want to play him in games that don't blow out. And they just happen to get back-to-back spank jobs. And, I mean, look at the guys they had on the court in the fourth quarter here. They didn't even they barely had a shift to John Wall. So back-to-back games where Boogie didn't touch the court in the fourth quarter. What are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? I'd probably go if Boogie's 6K the next slate. It could be against the Lakers. I might still have some shots of him, Cousins is a great play, just didn't pan out. That's how DFS is. Yeah, it's just kind of don't be super results orientated. Don't victory lap if you fade them. It was what it was. It didn't happen, It was a terrible play last night. I always pick Boogie, but that's why I didn't pick him yesterday. A terrible play? I don't think 6K Boogie is ever a terrible play. Terrible in context. But if you thought they'd get blown out, terrible play. Anyway, we got to do some breakdownage of today's basketball slate. I'll take one more peek over at the Discord. Don't see Rod. So Rod said he's not going to make it today. That's fine. We are big boys. We can figure this one out on the fly. And I'm going to be using the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet throughout the duration of the stream. As a friendly reminder, it is a premium perk of having a subscription at RunDFS.com. That's the place where we don't just play DFS, we run DFS. Invite you guys to come check out a week pass. Maybe play along in the spreadsheet, navigate with me, and throughout the day, I update projections as we get closer to lock, and I'll unlock my personal player pool for both sites, my tier 1s, 2s, 3s, my value guys. You guys don't have to tail me. You don't have to copy me. You compare your stuff to my stuff. Where's gun at on this guy? And maybe I'm on a guy that you're not, and vice versa. And then we also have the pre-lock voice chat. It's a lot of fun. I also have a player props tab, and there's going to be more to say about this player props tab probably on Monday's stream. We got a pretty exciting partnership set up. Raptors at the Washington Wizards. First game on the docket. Project starting 5 for the Raptors. Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Aaron Baines taking on Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, Danny Advia, Rui Hachimura, and Alex Len. A 234.5 total, a 5-point spread in favor of the Toronto Raptors. We do have an Anunoby questionable. He has missed quite a stretch of games leading up to this one. I'm going to go check out the I usually use the Roto World depth chart for news. But they've rebranded today to NBC Sports Edge. So I don't know if anybody caught that or any Roto World people. Looks like the brand Roto World is no more. But Anunoby, left calf strain, listed as questionable. He's missed the past 7 games with the calf strain, but this is his first time being listed questionable in a while, which hints that he's making progress. We'll have a better idea on his status following shooting around. So until he's in, maybe you prepare for him being out. You prepare for another start from Norman Powell, something like that. If he is in, and I'm not saying this is if this happens, this happens. If he is in, I would be kind of wondering what happens to the minutes of Chris Boucher, who has seen an uptick in minutes. Is not, it's not a position that he'll man, but this is a team that ends up typically in the second half going a little bit smaller. Now we've seen him play high 20 minutes earlier this season with Anunoby. And they had Alex Len on the roster. They got rid of him. And then there was a long stretch, or a stretch of 13, 14, 18. Seems like whatever doghouse or minutes glass ceiling Chris Boucher was under, he seemed to have broke through in the last 3 games, 27, 33, 29 minutes played. And all 3 games were against favorable matchups, the Brooklyn Nets, the Atlanta Hawks, and Memphis Grizzlies. But I think this one is just as favorable as any of these matchups. I think he's really cheap, 5,900. So if Boucher is still going to have an opportunity at these minutes against the Washington Wizards, going against his old pal Alex Len, I think he's too cheap to not have some exposure to. Like I said, I would wonder if there's some type of domino effect from Anunoby coming back, getting 30 minutes to Boucher getting those same minutes allotted to him, but it's something that I'd probably still have to gamble on no matter what. And if Anunoby is out, then I would just feel better, because I don't want to miss out on Boucher at this price point going against a team like the Wizards that should offer plenty of possessions, plenty of rebounds. So we know per minute Chris Boucher has an ability to be an elite value play. Right now, I got him projected at 26 minutes with 30-plus fantasy points on both FanDuel and DraftKings. I got to imagine that's already going to put him as one of the best value plays in my early projections. Boucher. Hold on, I gotta readjust here. Control F. Boucher, yeah, it's for a little over 5x down here. So definitely an opportunity for that to rise as we get closer to lock. Past that, I think the entire Raptors team has individual cases. I think Kyle Lowry at 7-3. We've seen him put together a stretch of 40-plus. That last game, he got injured and left the game and didn't come back in just 8 minutes played. Prior to that, 37, 38, 34. I mean, the Raptors minutes rotation has been the Raptors minutes rotation. So if he's going to get 35 potential minutes against the Wizards, I think he has a case for 40-plus fantasy points. Obviously, we know him and Fred VanVleet sometimes like to switch upside games, but their price points individually, at least on DraftKings, give them a chip in a chair to be put in the rotation, to be put in the player pool. I think the pricing on the Raptors throughout DraftKings just seems awfully cheap all across the board. Even Anunoby, although I would imagine he'd be on some type of minutes restriction, so I'd kind of be aware of that. On the Wizards side, Russell Westbrook, 8,400 on DraftKings. I mean, did you ever think you'd see the day where Westbrook is this cheap? I don't think I did, and I just think at this price point, yeah, I'm probably going to invest in him at 40-plus fantasy points. I might tier 1 him at this price point. I think he's borderline matchup proof at that particular price. Bradley Beal's kind of cheap. This game is really doggone cheap for 234 total. Hachimura, probably not there, even though I got big minutes on him. And then Alex Len, the curious case of Alex Len here. He's had a couple of games lately with 20-plus minutes. There's an 8-minute game in the mix, a couple of 8-minute games with 20-plus minutes, and a few games around it. Does he play up against his former team here? A little bit of revenge in his blood. 4-4, I don't know that I'm pushing a crazy amount of exposure on him, but at 4-4, he absolutely could pay off here. This is a Raptors team that allows an elevated amount of blocks per game. Not really suffering at giving up points in the paint or anything like that, but maybe there's a couple of big man peripherals to go around for Alex Len. I don't think I'm going to sacrifice the center spot for Alex Len too much, if at all, but he is at least a thought early on. But Westbrook's too cheap. All the Raptors too cheap, and then even Bradley Beal has a case at 9-3. Chad, I'm curious to see where you guys are at on this game. It just seems like the total's too high, and the prices are too low on DraftKings, and I could absolutely see myself being more exposed to this game on DK versus FanDuel. What is going on in chat? Let me scroll up a little bit, get caught up. You sure if you think Boogie was terrible, blah, 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 moving down. Roger's right. Usually when y'all call him dumb a lot, it's fun. Just like you didn't pan out last game. Y'all, what are y'all doing with this game? I don't know what's going on. All right, I guess we'll ban Megan. I don't know what's going on here. Is there some context to that, or am I? All right, we'll just ban Megan. Megan, go have fun. But turn me off. Quit putting my name at what are y'all doing in chat? Relax. Everything else saying is irrelevant. Missed me with that. I was took down yesterday. All right, chat. I'm gonna keep it moving. Looks like we need some moderation going on. I don't know. Y'all. Don't jack up the vibes, boys. We chilling. You can see the game blowing out. The Raptors and Wizards. Man. A near full strength Wizards. We've seen Davis Bertans get back in the mix. Westy's back in the mix. Man, I think I like their chances of keeping this one close. The Raptors' defensive efficiency is not great. What do you think about Siakam over 21.5 points? I could tell you what the projections think. Siakam, I got him at 20.5, so that's about right where the line of comfort is. I think if Anunimi started, he's a little less of a scorer than Norman Powell. Maybe the potential for him to pick up those real points goes up. Wizards definitely don't scare me by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know that's like a lock bet or anything, right? You can see it pan out. You could also see him just score 20. We chilling, block those. Nah, Damien, chat. Whatever y'all are on, man. Woosah, deep breath. We chill. We don't do that. We don't do that here. We're vibing. This ain't a measuring contest, if you know what I mean. We're all here to vibe out, look at the slate, get ready for the day, and make money. We don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I think OG's coming back tonight. Definitely possible. Josh says Sabonis, Brogdon, and Turner are all locks. Yeah, there's a couple of juicy spots here, and I think the Thunder value will make it happen. Danny's here. Oh yeah, y'all better act correct. Are we gonna get Lend revenge game? I think the price and my raw point priority will allow me to not go overboard with Alex Len. Just out of curiosity, foreshadowing to centers on the slate. Sabonis, I think, will probably be my favorite center eligible player. Porzingis is in a good spot. Capella's in a high rebound potential spot. There's plenty of great plays here, and I would, if Len dropped 30, I don't feel like I need him just yet. I think it's a fantastic play, but I feel like that would be near the ceiling, and elsewise I'll just relax, Let's move on to the next game. I think I heard Lowry in trade rumors. I don't know. Lowry will probably end his career. He's like Mr. Raptor. Atlanta Hawks at the Dallas Mavericks. Project starting five for the Hawks: Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish Jr., John Collins, Clint Capella, taking on Luka Doncic, Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, Kristaps Porzingis. We got a 232.5 total, 4-point spread in favor of the home team, Dallas Mavericks. We love the Trae Young versus Luka narrative. The price point on both players is great, and even Trae Young at 9.9 on DK. If you look at his game log, I mean, the sea of 50-plus fantasy points on DraftKings is a thing of beauty. Against Dallas, ironically, is the last time he didn't drop 50, but prior to that, it was the just a stretch of 50s. He's had one game in his last 10 where he didn't exceed 50-plus fantasy points, and I'm willing to roll the dice on him being able to get there today against Dallas. 20-plus real points as far as the eye can see. I mean, he's just super rock solid. Definitely, and if you guys have been following Trae Young the last year or so for fantasy, he was never someone that you felt safe with in cash. But man, this is such a consistent game log, and I'm at under 10K. Yeah, I'll put him in the mix there for a shot at 50-plus. It's kind of the situation that we liked yesterday with Jimmy Butler, right? He's just been so consistent to give you a rock solid floor, and yesterday some upside hits. So give me Trae Young. I also have Clint Capella on the radar. I think the Dallas Mavericks have shown us an inability to rebound at an efficient rate over the course of the last month. Yes, there's been games without Kleber, without Porzingis, but we have seen some actually crazy, massive rebound totals against this Dallas Mavericks front court. So I do believe that you could play some Capella at 8.3, 8.6. His price is reduced quite a bit. We've seen a stretch of strong games from a fantasy perspective, including him just missing the 40 fantasy point threshold in his last game against them. But we've seen some 17 rebound games out of Ayton. Draymond has some good games, but the Draymond games I don't think are something that we can fairly put in comparison here, because his games were assist based, not necessarily rebound based. But the Mavericks on the season, their rebound rate just under 20% offensively and below average defensively. So excellent spot for Capella to maybe have one of those 15-plus rebound games. He's averaging 14.6 rebounds on the season. Maybe even goes above and beyond his average and gives us a double-double shot. I like him for just a case for 40 fantasy points. And I'm not going to push much higher or much lower. The Mavericks side, Luka and Porzingis is really where I start and stop as far as high-level interest or even medium-level interest. I think Porzingis has shown us that per minute he has been just fine. The Mavericks did get involved in a couple games that got a little lopsided, but that last time out against Minnesota, 31 minutes out of Porzingis, 61 fantasy points. He's been over a point per minute for as far as the eye can see. Last game against Atlanta, 44 and a quarter, 20 shot attempts. Definitely like his price point here. I think this is going to be a high-scoring slate from what we've been seeing so far. You can make errant cases for the Clay Boss, the Jay Riches, the Brunsons off the bench. I think those guys are just really loose exposure tournament shots in broader quantity of lineups, 100, 150. But the front level is definitely Luka Porzingis versus Trae Young for me, and then I'd probably throw a tier 3 stamp on like a Capella. I think Kevin Huerter and Cam Reddish are both worth a consideration. Huerter's likely going to be amongst the team leaders in minutes played here. He might even play more than Trae Young, and I think because of that, at under 6K, if we're dealing with a 230 total, I think I put him in the mix here. Certainly seems like he could take the second most shot attempts behind Trae Young as well. And with Trae Young's assist rate, it's not a negative correlation to kind of put them together. So I definitely have Huerter as a low tier 2, maybe a high tier 3 interest as it stands now. And I might be able to waver from that going forward. Let's see what you guys got on this game before we move on. Len is too inconsistent. Don't trust him. I think Len's minutes are where we are worried about. And I think for now, I could stay away. And then maybe his rebound percentage drops with Westbrook on the court. Just haven't seen a lot of overlap between them to have a sample size that I feel confident in saying facts about that, right? Dallas was doubling him every time he touched the ball. Trae Young, yeah, they were trapping him, but he still almost got there. Like Trae Young had a really tough first half in that Dallas game, and second half he muscled his way to 40-plus fantasy points. So, I mean, I'm sure they reviewed what Dallas was doing, and he still almost had himself a solid game. And one thing that I think didn't happen that game that has a chance of coming back is the free throws. I mean, he's had essentially double-digit free throw attempts in every game but the Dallas game. If he gets those double-digit free throws here, that 40 becomes a 50 again. So I wouldn't overreact to how Dallas guarded him. I think it's a game of adjustments. If they adjust accordingly, Trae Young can get right back to being Trae Young. I think also Trae Young, had 2 quick fouls in the first, but don't quote me on that one. Gun thoughts on John Collins tonight. He had a nice game against Dallas last time. 7K, 7.5 per minute. I mean, he has a chip in a chair just as much as anybody. I'm probably not forcing the issue with Collins. I think my 7K to 8K is going to be really, really strict because guys like Sabonis are going to require a lot of exposure from me. Even Porzingis for the same area. I think John Collins is 7.5K. Gets you 40 plus. That's kind of the wheelhouse that I'm looking for. 50 was fantastic. He played 40 minutes that game. If I played him giving up what I love today so far, I would probably really want that 50. I don't think you're crazy to have an eye on him. I don't think I'm going to prioritize it. I'd struggle with saying that he wouldn't be in my pool because I think tonight might end up a lot of me batching together game stacks, and I could see putting him in a game stack. Maybe there's a correlation rule I'd set where I don't want to overlap Collins and Capella. Right? Is that fair to say? The Capella in that game? Dallas, 30 minutes, 39. I guess that's really not fair to say. I don't think you're crazy for playing him. I just don't know if I'm prioritizing him. But I think he has to be in the pool because I do think this potential game stack would be something that I batch in my scripts tonight. Kevin Huerter almost went for 50 a couple days ago against the Mavs, and Gallinari is getting more minutes than now. Good finds there. I don't necessarily think Gallo is going to eat at Huerter's upside or minutes even. Play some 4, play some 3, stuff like that. I think Huerter's minutes are there as long as DeAndre Hunter's down and Dunn is out and Bogdanovich is out. They're going to have somebody step up, and I think Huerter right now is the guy, at least minute-wise, that has to be that person, right? Trae Young and Luka in the same line. Sure. If you can make it happen, Captain, go for it. Luka, definitely one of the guys on the slate with 60-plus fantasy point potential. With that said, I don't know the last time I've seen my projections actually put somebody at 60-plus fantasy points because the algorithm is kind of super soft and conservative. I got him at 60-plus fantasy points, but at this price point, that's literally what you need. So definitely don't think it's bad to have them both in the same line. Super positive correlation. One guy's doing well, the other guy fighting back. So yeah, I got no issues with that. If you got the value to make it happen, Satoransky or Monte Morris. Probably Monte Morris, but that's not a snap call, and there's not a high level of confidence. That's a tough area to be in. Trae and Luka, the rivalry's real. I'm a Mavs fan. I'm with that. Jay Rich and Huerter look good. I think Jay Rich, maybe I should respect him more than I am for fantasy. But I just tend to not get too creative past Porzingis and Luka when the Mavs are full strength. But we've seen some 30s out of him. I just think his floor is not strong enough for me to be overly invested. And on the bigger the slate, the tighter I like to keep my 5K area. And I just like, even just at the 5K range, right? Do I just turn all that into Kevin Huerter and feel as solid, right? Am I missing out on a ceiling from Jay Rich? I don't think I can. So I'm probably going to be the low man on Jay Rich tonight. Let's move on to the next game here. Minnesota. The Minnesota Timberwolves hosted the Los Angeles Clippers. We did get word right as I went live that Karl-Anthony Towns is expected to play. So we'll put him in the projected lineup. Just be advised that I did not have him. I had him doubtful before I went live, so I don't have him projected for minutes. So all of the T-Wolves projections will have to adjust accordingly. I'll have to adjust when I go off the air into the Discord voice chat. Clippers project starting 5 here: Patrick Beverley, Luke Kennard, Kawhi Leonard, Nick Batum, Serge Ibaka, taking on D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Josh Okogie, crossing over with Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, the big cat, Ernie Ladd. We got a 223 total, a 10.5 point spread in favor of the Clippers. And that's actually a line that I'd be very interested in seeing if there was movement while I was on the air, because we got that cat news literally as I started the monologue. So with the T-Wolves, they moved to -9. Or the Clippers moved to -9. So I got about a buck and a hook on line movement, and I think there's a chance that could move even more based on the availability of D'Angelo Russell. Did you guys see that Malik Beasley has to do, was it 4 months in jail? We'll see how that turns out. I don't know if that's going to be a instant thing or after a season thing. Anyway, let's go look at the Los Angeles Clippers injury report. Patrick Beverley, questionable with a right knee. Ty Lue said that Beverley would play in at least one game in this 2-game road trip. There's a chance we'll see him return from an 8-game absence tomorrow night, which was written yesterday for this. If that happened, that would shift Reggie Jackson back to the second unit. Paul George did not travel with the Clippers for this road trip. He decided to stay in L.A. To continue his bone edema rehab in his right foot. So he's going to miss this game against the T-Wolves. And then obviously we know when Paul George is out, we look at Kawhi Leonard. And again, we just have some low pricing, especially on DraftKings today. And I think a 9.4K or Kawhi Leonard without Paul George against a Timberwolves team that could have D-Russ and Cat. I think we might get more minutes out of Kawhi than maybe we thought we would get this morning. So I think Kawhi stands to be potentially one of the highest floor, highest ceiling plays on the slate. So you got to introduce him as at least a tier 2, potentially a tier 1. I've got no qualms against that. Just out of curiosity, Kawhi Leonard, DKP by game log without Paul George. Let's put last 10 games, see what it pulls up. We got a 36 and 35 minutes against Sacramento. That's unfortunate, but past that, he hasn't got you less than 50 fantasy points without PG. I mean, how do you get away from that against the T-Wolves? Yeah, I mean, I'm in on that regardless. I think this is a matchup that just feeds so much of what Kawhi is great at. The blocks per game is up there. Kawhi definitely can get some of those peripherals. The points in the paint, we definitely know Kawhi can drive to the rack. The mid-range is there. I don't need to justify Kawhi Leonard today. You guys know you should be playing copious amounts of Kawhi Leonard. If you're looking for who else to maybe pick up in the absence of Paul George, I have deep minutes on Nick Batum. Not a comfort click by any stretch of the imagination, but somebody that is projecting well in my conservative projections at just under 30 fantasy points. So the 5K chip and shares is there. Beverly, I don't know that I get into carousel of the guard situation if Beverly did play. If Beverly didn't play, I might look at Reggie Jackson. Lou Williams has had finally a game or so where it looks like old Lou Williams. I heard that he is definitely a name that's being shopped around in the trade market. Back-to-back 30-plus fantasy point games, double-digit shot attempts in both of those games. So, yeah, I would look at Lou Will, but that would be contingent on Patrick Beverley being out. On the T-Wolves side, there's a lot of if this happens, that happens situations. I think if D-Russ was out and we got Karl Anthony Towns without a minutes limit, and I think it's hard to imagine that he wouldn't be on a minutes restriction, though we've seen him come back from situations, have his minutes monitored, and go out there and play 37 minutes anyway. So even if that quote came out, I might still gamble on him. But Cat versus Kawhi in some lineups, is that a positive correlation? Is that something where I can get 100-plus fantasy points from the two? Maybe. Obviously, I don't have as much confidence just because there's a little bit more risk to accept if you're going to play Cat here and take the gamble that he's not going to be on a minutes restriction, or that D-Russ plays with him and shares some of that usage. But I still think the gamble's worth it because we have seen this season Cat come back on a minutes monitored situation and play 37 minutes. So keep an eye on that. If Cat's in, he's expected to play. I probably am down on D. Russ and Beasley, guys like that. I might avoid the T-Wolves as a whole, and I'm just banging out some lineups with Kawhi. Maybe a little bit of Batum as a tier 3 exposure. I like the spot for Serge Ibaka. I think he's projecting well, but it's not anything obscene. But centers against the T-Wolves, certainly something that I've been able to take advantage of. And Karl-Anthony Towns defensively is not something that's going to be a giant step forward for the T-Wolves. But yeah, Kawhi tier 1, maybe, yes, possibly. Let's go check out the live chat before we move on. Solo says, I kind of believe the Lowry trade. Look how they did DeRozan. Van Vliet's a Canadian younger balls out. So I definitely think Van Vliet is the future, right? But I think everyone knows that. I think even Kyle Lowry knows that. So if they trade him, they trade him. Obviously, they told DeRozan they wouldn't trade him, and they did. But it definitely feels like Lowry is like the Mr. Raptor of this generation ever since Vince left, right? Kawhi's a lock tonight for me, says Keldon Johnson. K Johnson. I called you Keldon. It's a Spurs player in the chat, guys. Especially with the Rusty Cat missing shots, tripped up, incoming. Yeah, I love the idea of Kawhi, and then the availability of Cat makes me feel a little bit better about this game staying close, and I think that's a plus for Kawhi. I don't know about Kawhi, says Solo, man. I don't know. Life of Sen going back to Herter. His home road splits look like a real thing. T-Dog, how does Morant look on your model? Came to the show late. I haven't hit that game just yet, so I'll gladly look at that when I get there. Jim says, how do you feel about Zubac? Ivica Zubac, 5.551. I don't have a reason to feel especially great or bad about him. Maybe if you thought that game's a little bit lopsided, Zubac picks up the slack here and could flirt with 30 fantasy points, but that's about what you need at his price point. So if you play him, you play him, but it's not anything that I would be especially aggressive on, and he probably doesn't make my player pool for the main slate. The disrespect. My bad. Let's keep it moving here. Indiana Pacers at the Brooklyn Nets. Project starting 5 for the Pacers. Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, Domantas Sabonis, and Miles Turner taking on Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Joe Harris, Jeff Green, DeAndre Jordan. The last time we had this situation where the Nets were on back-to-back, I was on the stream and I was like, does Kyrie sit? And nothing was out there that said he would. And then as soon as I got off the air, Kyrie Irving rest rolled out. So I don't know. Maybe look for some shenanigans here on night 2 of a back-to-back. But as it stands now, we have to project everyone in. The Pacer side looks a little bit more welcoming to me on both sides. I think Malcolm Brogdon might be the lockiest lock that ever did lock at 7.2 on FanDuel, 7.4 on DraftKings. I mean, how do you not? Jesus, that looks like 40 all day long, all day strong with a realistic case for 50-plus fantasy points. I love anyone against this Nets team. Without Kevin Durant, this defense has a case to be the worst defense on the slate. Especially now. I think they could be the worst defense on the slate. So Brogdon at 7.2, 7.4 just does too much for me to not be involved. Domantas Sabonis, 9.3 on FanDuel, 8.6 on DK. A great spot for him to project for over 50 fantasy points. And then the Nets have been allowing a lot of points in the paint. Miles Turner's cheap enough on DraftKings where he could maybe flirt with that ever-elusive dub for him. He's not a high-rebounding center, but between stocks and maybe some extra points to go around here because of the pace, because of the total, 6K to Miles Turner has a shot. But Sabonis and Brogdon would definitely be one of my favorite handcuffs of the slate. I think I can get away with it easier on DK at 7.4, 8.6, but I love that combo. And then everyone else that gets minutes in this game, at least on the Pacer side, guys like Justin Holiday, even TJ McConnell, even though 5K is a little bit outlandish to expect positive tournament return. They all have a case. Like, I don't think you're crazy to target these guys. But Brogdon, Sabonis, yeah, those will probably be tier ones for me on DK. On the net side, James Harden did James Harden things last night. I think at the end of the day, I think, what did he have? Like a ridiculous amount of steals, or he had something that was a little abnormal. He had blocks. He had 5 blocks and 2 steals last night. James Harden doesn't play defense. Without that, he becomes an average to bad play at the price point, 10.9K. He went down $500 overnight. Matchup got a little tougher. It is a back-to-back, but we all know James Harden has what it takes to get there at that price point, especially considering there is no KD is on this ridiculous assist rate. I think James Harden feels like he's on a case to kill every narrative about him. If you look at last night, he doesn't play defense. Well, there's your blocks and steals, and he's a ball hog. Well, he's got 11-plus assists in how many games straight now? So kind of look out for that. There's a couple of narratives like that. Like, I think LeBron James is like on a secret mission to play every game and win MVP. But yeah, if you play LeBron, you play LeBron. I think today's slate, I don't have to make him a priority just because the slate is stacked, like absolutely stacked. Trae Young, Luka's on the slate. Kawhi at 9K. Like, there's just so many ways to go that I could see not having that extra 2-3K to get to a guy like Harden. Outside of Harden and Kyrie, am I going too crazy with the Nets here? Probably not. Indiana's kind of like middling when it comes to defending the 3 ball. I don't know that I got a lot of juice on the Joe Harris price. I do think he gets the benefit of a lot of, open looks, but even at 20 real points, he's not guaranteed to be a great fantasy play. So I'm probably not pushing the needle too much on the Nets here. If you want to run back Bruce Brown, something like that, I don't think you're crazy. But really, my main interest points per dollar is going to be on the Pacers side. Let's get caught up on chat here, see what you guys are thinking before we move on. What's up, Russ? Dougie McBuckets? You like that? I'm with that. Shadow says, what do you like more, Brogdon over 33.5 PRA or Sabonis 39.5? I'll show what my early projections have for those two. Let me just go Indiana. Indiana. What is that noise? So for PRA, I've got... Did I not just click Indiana? Yes, there it is. For PRA, I've got Sabonis at 39, Brogdon at 33, and you had Brogdon at 33. Jesus H, bro. Like, those are literally my projections. I'd probably take the lower of the two. Brogdon, could I get Brogdon 20 real points, 10 assists, a couple boards? Probably Brogdon just because it's lower, but, I mean, those are probably where they need to be, The Pacers price is the disrespect. It's absolutely disrespect. Like, Pacers are stackable slate to slate, day to day as it is. You put them against one of the worst defenses in the league right now, a defense that's catching night 2 of a back-to-back. Another thing I would say is Brooklyn being 1.5 point favorites here, night 2 of a back-to-back. Like, I don't know if you're probably not going to get much value on the money line here, but I would take the Pacers to win. So they're on 3 days rest. Like Kyrie said yesterday, the Nets are looking mad average. I could see the Pacers coming out here and turning some heads here. So you probably don't get much value there. So maybe it's not worth the bet. But I don't know. I don't know that Pacers are that much worse than the Nets right now. I think the Pacers are really good, so I don't know. Dad says I would go with Turner, but with Turner, we have to rely on his blocks. He doesn't get many rebounds because he hangs out at the perimeter. So, yeah, block-heavy guys against a guy like James Harden, those blocks could turn into fouls pretty quickly. When it comes to blocks per game allowed, Nets allowing just 4.2 blocks per game kind of makes sense. If we go look at that in the context of the entire league, blocks per game allowed, Brooklyn's allowing a bottom 5 amount. So, yeah, if we want to really build on a block-heavy guy, there's a lot of risk going against this team. One, they just don't give up a lot of blocks as it is, a lot of jump shooters. And 2, those blocks can become fouls. But that's why I like Sabonis a little bit more. You see what Wright and Plumlee did yesterday, so it was a lock for me. So I think if you're going off the Wright and Plumlee, make that Brogdon and Sabonis, because Sabonis is really more of the true center here. if you look at it. Miles Turner's out there chucking threes. He's not getting rebounds. So yeah, don't necessarily put Turner in the Plumlee role. And Plumlee's minutes are more like Sabonis minutes. Plumlee's minutes yesterday are more like Sabonis minutes from game to game. That's it on this one, right? You guys got any secrets? Doug McDermott. Yeah, I don't know. Win big or play again. Where am I messing up? I don't know, man. What do you mean? And he backed out. Grizzlies hosting the Charlotte Hornets. Next game on the docket. A meager total, but it's probably going to be a game that I have a lot of interest in anyway. Project starting five for the Hornets: LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, and Cody Zeller taking on Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane, Kyle. The Andersons got tickets to the game. How'd they get tickets? Jonas Valanciunas, a 224 total, 4-point spread in favor of the home team, Memphis Grizzlies. So total's going down a little bit. The pace is going to go down a little bit. Both teams averaging under 100 possessions. But, man, there's plenty of plays here. LaMelo Ball, 8-2, 8-5. So this slate's going to be stupid, man. Like, this is going to be one of the highest scoring slates, I think, of the year on DraftKings, just because everyone's so cheap. But the first thing I thought about right now when I see LaMelo Ball's price is Russell Westbrook's price. LaMelo Ball is 8.5K, and Russell Westbrook is cheaper at 8.4K. And they both, like, LaMelo deserves it, but man, that's just wild to say. And yeah, so I think LaMelo Ball, without Devontae Graham, has earned that starting spot. The minutes, he'll probably be second on the team in minutes today, if not first. The point per minute production, the do-it-all type of basketball that he plays. He's a fantastic play. Do you have room for him, considering what else is on the slate? That's up to you, man. I think this slate is absolutely loaded, and Melo's just continuing the trend here. Gordon Hayward under 8K certainly has 40-plus fantasy point potential. Rozier's a click. I don't have a high level of confidence whenever I play Rozier. I think his massive games lately, and when you look at the role on this team, he's going to have to catch fire from behind the arc. And then on the Memphis Grizzlies side, Ja Morant, 7.1, 7.3 on DK. I think I'm going to have enough interest on the slate at other guards like LaMelo, like Westbrook. But even plus minus $500 on Ja Morant here, I'm just going Malcolm Brogdon, right? Like, how many times do I play Brogdon over Ja Morant for $300 difference? So I probably just go Brogdon and cut losses here. I think the Grizzlies are a team that are pretty. The rotation is pretty deep. You're not getting a lot of 35, 37-minute guys. I got them all at 32 or less minutes. Anderson makes an interesting case if he's going to continue playing, more minutes at the as a big, and maybe his rebound can go up some. But there's no one here that I feel like I'm going to have to make a priority in the grand scheme of today's slate. So I'm willing to just bow out on the Grizzlies. I think J-Val maybe is probably the guy that deserves the deepest consideration, especially when you look at what he just accomplished in his last game. It was a 50-plus fantasy point performance, and he's 7.4. So if he curtain called a game like that, sure, 20 rebounds, a little bit on the high side. But the Charlotte Hornets definitely a team that can allow you to get the best of them rebound-wise. So maybe I look at him, but for the most part, I can see myself being down on the Grizzlies. I might tier 3 some shots at, Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson, guys like that. But I think I can argue against Ja Morant here. I think the minutes are going to be tight enough and low enough for the Grizzlies in a slow-paced, lower projected scoring game where I'm just going to prioritize guys elsewhere. If you guys are going to go opposite that, and if you think game theory and tournament mindset would be lucrative to attack some Grizzlies, go for it. I'm just thinking about what I'd probably do here. My biggest question would be what do you guys do with LaMelo? Obviously, you just he's just been so good, right? But if you got backed into a corner and you got 8.5K, are you going LaMelo or are you going Russell Westbrook? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer from where I'm sitting right now. I do think LaMelo could be a 9-10K player within a month. And we could just be like, man, LaMelo was still this cheap on this day against the Grizzlies. But in today's approach, it's a 1v1 between him and Russ. And I don't know if I want to skip out on this cheap of a Westbrook. Maybe if you thought that the Wizards would not be competitive against the Raptors, right? In the last couple games, they've been on the wrong side of blowouts. And you think that the Hornets and Grizzlies has a higher chance of being competitive, maybe you go Melo here. But I'm curious to see where you guys would be. Let's see what you guys got in the live chat before we move on. Pete says, Ja, why can't I quit you? I'll be at the Ja slot machine with the J-Val handcuff. That's fair. I don't think that's crazy. J-Val, yep. T-Roz? Terry Rozier, Malcolm Brogdon, Dylan Brooks, Malik Monk, Nick Batum, Kawhi Leonard, Domantas Sabonis, Patrick Williams, Clint Capella. That's your lineup. Win big. That's cool. Rozier and Dylan Brooks and Monk. You got a couple guys there that seem a little iffy, but when I start making lineups, I can't really speak on it until I have my value. I got to have a strong value pool. So far, I haven't identified a ton of 4K or less guys that that I can throw in the mix to glue together some good stuff. Shadow Stefan says, I got J-Val over 33.5 PRA. Too much for Valanciunas. Man, I feel like I'm getting sick. We got the Rona, Control F, Valanciunas. Yeah, I got him at 31, so I definitely wouldn't bet, or I wouldn't get crazy. So over 33.5. Yeah, I don't know. Usually when I'm comparing my projections to books, if I have a 2 to 3 point differential, that's when I'll start betting. I don't know that I would be there on over 33.5. I do feel like that's a little aggressive, but I could easily see it. I think it's easy to get lost in PRA when it comes to bigs, because if you come into it with a fantasy mind and you're thinking it's easy to put PRA as fantasy points, but you got to remember they're not including blocks and steals and stuff like that, right? Hornets giving the most rebounds per game to centers. Insert J-Val and keep it hot. Is that true? Is it true, Dad? Is it really true? Most rebounds per game. They're up there. I got Sack is giving the most per game, and then Indiana, surprisingly, Washington, and then Charlotte. So it's a great spot, and that's so subjective. Rebounds to a position in a world where there's basically positionless basketball. That's so iffy. But yeah, sure, go for it. Russ says, did somebody say game theory? Russ is Mr. Game Theory, man. Russ used to write books, full on stories on how games would play out, and it was amazing. Gotta love people that take game theory to the next level, like Russ. You gotta play LaMelo. He's going to want to show up Ja. Yeah, I can see that. What's up, Lorenza? We can't have you getting Rona gun. I don't think I have. I don't do it. I don't go. I get stuff delivered, so I don't think it's Rona. It would just be a cold or something. I don't know. I'm not exposed. I did just travel cross country, but that was 3 weeks ago, so I think it's a little late to get impacted, right? Let's move on to the next game. New Orleans Pelicans at the Chicago Bulls. Project starting five for the Pels. Lonzo Ball, Eric Bledsoe, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Stone Cold Steven Adams. He's going to get one board. What? Up against Chicago Bulls. Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Denzel Valentine, Patrick Williams, Daniel Gafford. Got 229.5 total. 2.5 point spread favor the Nolans Pelicans. Pelicans night two of a back-to-back. A little bit of travel. Zach LaVine's been a guy I've been very infatuated with without Larry Markkinen in the mix. The Pelicans are a really bad defense so far this season. If we look at the team metrics chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, Pelicans are a bottom 8 defense in terms of defensive rating, 113.3 points per 100 possessions allowed. The thing that's kind of holding them back from like everyone realizing that they're not a good defense is their pace. They're the opposite of what they used to. They used to be a track meet bad defense. Now they're a lot slower, under 100 possessions per game. And yeah, so the defense really bad. I think what's interesting here is that we have one of those fire ice situations where we got a slow-paced team, bad defense, against a fast-paced team, bad defense. Chicago Bulls, the third fastest pace in basketball. So a couple extra possessions for guys like Zion, Ingram, Lonzo even. And on the Bulls side, maybe a possession or two less for LaVine. LaVine at 939K, I think has every right to be in the conversation for 50-plus fantasy points, but join the club. I mean, this slate is just absolutely loaded in the guard spot, and I could see myself not prioritizing LaVine in lieu of the value I'm getting from like a Brogdon or just in Trae Young is $900 more. So I could see LaVine falling through the cracks. Gafford's back in the mix here. I'm not really going to let that affect my approach on the Bulls. But I could see the Bulls even like all the way around. I could see myself lower on all these Bulls. Just out of curiosity, Zach LaVine, DKP by game log without, let's spell correctly first, without Larry Markkinen, last 10 games. Last 4 games, he gave you a chip in a chair for 50 fantasy points. So you see it. I mean, he's a super solid shot here. So I got no quarrels with LaVine, but at 9K, if he gets you that 50 bomb, it's kind of what he needs. I'll probably start him at a tier 3. The rest of the Bulls, I could see myself not having Kobe, the point guard spot on FanDuel. I think I'm going to have to have it beefy with high floor, high ceiling guys, and I don't think Kobe's got a high enough floor for me to trust him. Thad Young, still center guy, almost 7K on FanDuel, 6'6". I'm not really going to push the issue here. I think all the outside of LaVine, bulk of my interest is going to be on the Pelican side. Maybe we flop lag with Denzel Valentine on FanDuel at 4,400. If you played him in that last slate, it wasn't great, but the night before was fine. 21 and then 33. I think at 4,400 on FanDuel, I could still throw some darts on that to get me where I need to go. He got in big time foul trouble last game. So, yeah, maybe Valentine is a value play on FanDuel at 4,400. And the same with Patrick Williams, right? It's not a warm and fuzzy click there, but he's still kind of cheap to where I can make a case for him. The Pelicans, though, I mean, everyone's in play individually. This could be a big spot for Zion. Bulls allow a lot of fantasy points to everybody. If you go look at that team DVP chart in the RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheet, but they really suffer against point guards and shooting guards. So maybe it's a massive Lonzo game at 6,600, and he flirts with 40 fantasy points. We talked about Josh Hart and his big game last night. I feel like that's one of those anomalic performances. Josh Hart's good for high rebound games. The 40 minutes seems a little bit outlandish. Did he just get all of the blowout run and go bananas? Let's pull up the popcorn machine on that and have a real answer. Josh Hart played a lot in the first quarter. Zion picked up 2 early fouls, so they stretched out and put Josh Hart in the mix. And he had a solid first run. He played, Josh played a lot of minutes. And so they put Zion back in, and he picked up, did he get another foul? He got another foul. So Zion had 3 fouls a couple minutes into the second quarter and ended up with 20 minutes. And Josh Hart was like the replacement, it looks like. And then Zion came back in the third quarter, picked up another foul. So he was sitting on 4 fouls a couple minutes into the third quarter. They put Josh Hart back in, and then the game blew out, and Josh Hart essentially benefited. So there's your context to the Josh Hart game. The matchup's still great. But do you expect 20 minutes out of Zion here? Probably not. Like that seemed extremely beneficiary. He was extreme beneficiary of Zion foul trouble, and then the game just blew out. And guys like NAW came in, Willie Hernan-Gomez closed out, and Josh Hart was the best of the cleanup crew. So that's the context of the big game. 40 minutes didn't just happen because the coach said, hey, I want Josh Hart to play 40 minutes. There were some fouls that created opportunity early, and then the game got away. It is the Chicago Bulls. They could get blown out. But just if you're chasing Josh Hart's production from last night, just kind of know what happened. Let's see what you guys got in the live chat. Paul says Zion's the play, 38 fantasy points, 28 minutes, and now he gets Patrick Williams. I would agree with that. Stay out of foul trouble here. Up a faster paced game, Zion could absolutely drop 40-plus fantasy points, even 50 here, right? And Hart was the funny part about Josh Hart was he was questionable all day, and then he ends up playing 40 effing minutes. Paul says, so ticked that I had a majority of Brown and Mason and only won $2 profit in terms because of Murray's bum juice. Oh, Deontay. Yeah, Deontay was probably my biggest L yesterday, right? Marvsky. Zion got in foul trouble. Paul says, I'm playing Hernan-Gomez in single entry on FanDuel. So again, Hernan-Gomez, was he on pace for substantial minutes if, one, Zion isn't in foul trouble, and if, two, it isn't a blowout. So just kind of understand what may need to happen tonight for greatness to happen for some of those punt plays. And the Bulls are not a great team, so it could happen. Steven Adams in play. Are we sleeping on him? Bulls, I don't know, 5-6, I could see a case for 30. I'm not going to push the issue here. But give me, if I had to write in pencil who I would play, like Lonzo, Ingram, and Zion are all those guys. And then when I put it into practice, Ingram and Zion, I think, are the two that still stick around at a high clip. But man, is AK loaded. How much Zion do we have in context? Like when we think about Sabonis, when we think about Porzingis, like where does Zion land at the end of the night on a back-to-back against the Bulls? Right? So the Bulls, fast-paced, that's a plus. Matchup soft. Man, that's good. That's going to be something I have to meditate on a lot. I feel like Sabonis is easily my number one because the Pelicans can still succeed, and they have four guys that can get you there. I think if the Pacers succeed, it's Brogdon and Sabonis leading the way. So Sabonis is my number one. And then it's Porzingis versus Zion. That's tough. I'm curious to see what you guys got. Would you trust going with Zion over KP? It's crazy you brought that up. That's literally where my mind is running right now. I feel like I want to. Maybe if I looked at ownership projections and I thought I can get some leverage going one way or the other. And I don't even think I don't want a specific way pre-flop, but if there's a significant gap in ownership projections and I could just get leverage going the other way and just coin flipping that it works out that way, I would do that. K. Johnson, you did good yesterday. James Fenner, Zion got to be tier 1 tonight. Gun, probably the freshest legs on the back-to-back for Pelicans in a plus matchup. Tier 1. Gosh, I don't think I can. I don't think I can do that. Logistically, like the idea of him as a tier 1 makes sense, but when I put it into practice, and I got Brogdon as a tier 1, and I can't have 6 tier 1s. You know what I'm saying? Like this tier 1s are usually guys I want 40-50% of, 60% or greater, and I just don't know that I can honestly have that much exposure to him while still honoring those other guys. So I gotta kind of rank them and then jot them down in my tiers, right? Zion's a 5x monster, but that's not what you need. I think the pace and the matchup gives us an opportunity for Zion to go above and beyond here. We'll see. Who else on power forward on FanDuel you see getting 5x? So let's open up FanDuel, power forward spot. Giannis is Giannis. Probably going to be really low on him, but he's Giannis. Domantas Sabonis could drop 50. Porzingis drop 50. Zion's in the conversation. Basically could play 1 million minutes. Chris Boucher at 6K has a a nice stretch of 25 plus minutes going, and he's in a super plus matchup. So Zion's easily top 3 on guys I want to play, but it's just a matter of actually getting there. And I would even say Patrick Williams is a potential play if I got 30 plus minutes out of him. It's not my favorite play, but if I'm looking for a little bit of value, the Pelicans defense isn't something I'm running from. Yeah, that's about it. He's definitely in the top 3 for me, points per dollar. But it's the Porzingis versus Zion. I think that's the biggest struggle. Zion hasn't gotten a 60 yet to be a tier 1, all right? Gun, what do you think about MPJ tonight? I'm going to get to that game in just a minute. Gun, maybe you're too high on Brogdon. He's kind of not been great. I don't think I'm too high on Brogdon. I think Brogdon's been good for me when I really have that feeling in my bad knee with the Storm are brewing. Pelicans game just got 27 minutes. I wonder if something happened. That seems a little anomalic. Milwaukee game was a blowout. Memphis game was a blowout. But in games that stay competitive, he's been 35 plus minutes, 40 plus fantasy points. So if your average here, he's averaging 40 fantasy points per game. If your average is 40 and you go against this Brooklyn Nets team, you're usually going to get above average results based on the matchup. So at 7.4K, I'm happy with your average. And then I know that the Nets can produce greatness. So I don't think I'm overly high. I think Utah is just a tough matchup. I'm not going to overreact to a bad performance against them. They're one of the, I think they might be the best defense in basketball. Let me. Well, I think the Lakers might be number 1. But if you're defensive rating, Utah's top 3. Houston's 2. That's funny. And then DVP wise, Utah's the second worst matchup. So I can't overreact to the last game. I don't know. I don't think I'm overrating Brogdon. We'll see. I like John Collins at 7K. Dallas D's atrocious. Yeah, Collins did drop 50 last time. But anyway, let's move on to the next game here. Denver Nuggets hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. Project starting 5 for the Cavs. Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, Isaac Okoro, Jared Allen, and Andre the Giant Drummond taking on Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., Paul Millsap, and Nikola Jokic. You got a 219.5 total, 9.5 point spread in favor of the home team Denver Nuggets. This should be a blowout, right? Like, we should see the Nuggets put away the Cavs pretty easily. I don't have any vested interest in playing any of these Cavs here. I think it's really just the worst spot on the slate. This probably is the slowest game on the slate. The Cavs run the 5th slowest pace in basketball. The Nuggets are at the 4th slowest. They're mismatched at essentially every position except maybe power forward. I'm probably just way out. Somebody did ask about Michael Porter Jr. I do think this is one of those games where MPJ could get off, where his bad defense doesn't really get exposed here, right? Isaac Okoro not likely to be involved enough offensively for Porter to get benched by Mike Malone. So maybe at 5'2", 5'7", this is one of those Porter big games for 40 fantasy points. But outside of that, like, I'm just not that into this game staying competitive. I do think Monte Morris on FanDuel is worth some thoughts, with the thought that this game could get lopsided. Maybe a few more minutes for him. They're still without Gary Harris, PJ Dozier, so Monte Morris could be playing 25, 30 minutes if the score went right. So I do like him on FanDuel. But outside of that, like, if you're playing Jokic for 60, you absolutely can do it. I haven't been playing Murray anyway. It is a soft matchup. Barton, Porter, like, good matchup for them to get there. But I don't see myself rostering a single Cav tonight. I would just X them out. And then the Nuggets were just kind of meditating and thinking about if it's worth having, shares of Barton and Porter. For me, I probably don't have Jokic. What do you guys got here before we move on? Paul says Brogdon had blowouts and slow-paced matchups, played terrible in the New Orleans game, so he got benched. Yeah, I'm willing to come back. Can you say hi to my girlfriend Marissa? She joined a Run DFS team. Hello, Marissa. Appreciate you joining. I think I do remember seeing Marissa in the recent transactions logs the other day. So appreciate that. My apologies, Marissa, if you listen into the pre-log voice chat. It is a little bit fraternal and doodly. Just say something in chat or type it in chat and we'll make them stop. But definitely sometimes that pre-log voice chat can get a little wild. Shadow says Millsap over 13.5 PRA. What do you think? What do I have him at? Ooh, that seems tight. I think all of our this late in the day, PRA is pretty tight. I think you got to jump on these prop bets really early to get the best value. I have him at 17 PRA, so I guess a 4-point gap. That's a big enough margin where I'd bet the over if you've got him at 13. So I'm with that. Lorenzo says a better DeLon Wright. Sign me up. Handcuff with Sabonis. Absolutely. Smash that like button. What's the price? Hey, almost 140 of the best play. It's Millsap's birthday. Let's go. Yeah, man. If you guys want to hit that thumbs up, I would appreciate it. Jokic at home. I'll have some. Yeah, if you have Jokic, I'm not putting you off of him. I'm not, Jokic is Jokic. He's one of those guys that are him, Embiid, and LeBron seem to like they're all trying to battle for the MVP conversation. And I think Jokic is third right now based on their win-loss record. But for the most part, I would never get any of you guys off of Jokic if you think he's a surefire shot at 60+. Life of Sen. Millsap takes advantage of the bigs that guard him with Jared Allen starting with Drummond. The combination of it being Millsap birthday is going to smash today. Book it. I like it. When big, got a girlfriend that plays DFS. Do you want to get the ring? Hey, my girl plays DFS too, man. Let's move on to the next game. Los Angeles Lakers hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder. Projects running 5 for the Thunder. It's about to get weird, mama. Ham Diallo, Kenrich Williams, Lou Dort, Darius Baisley, and Al Horford. Taking on Dennis Schroeder, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Marcus Gasol, 217.5 total. 12-point spread in favor of the Lakers. Lakers will have LeBron James. Not sure if they're going to have AD. AD has missed some action. Seems like a winnable game regardless. With that said, the Lakers have been playing down to opponents lately. Lakers scores kind of put that. The Pistons took them 12 rounds. The Pistons. The Thunder went to overtime on in their last game. That was SGA in the mix, though. The Pistons went to overtime again. So they have been playing down on some not going to say must, but like throwaway laugher type games pre-flop. And I think both these games, they might have been double-digit favorites and ended up going to OT. So if you're into the Thunder just because minutes equal money and these guys have to play an exuberant amount of minutes, do you, boo-boo, right? I think Al Horford without SGA has shown us a propensity to be amongst the highest usage guys on the team. We saw that super high assist game without SGA. Was it 2 games ago, 3 games ago? 8 assists for him, 7 boards, 57 fantasy points. Minnesota is not the Lakers, but a little bit more responsibility here without SGA. Maybe that goes back up. I really don't think it's like I'm not going to be warm and fuzzy on any of these Thunder. If I ended up with no Thunder at the end of the day, I'm not upset. But individually, if you're putting 35 minutes on a Baisley, on a Horford, on a Diallo, at their price points on both sites, like, they have a chip and a chair. So go for it. Kenrich Williams, I'm not excited about him ever. He could play 40 minutes and still be an average to bad play. Same with Lou Dort. Roby on DK is a lot cheaper than his FanDuel counterpart, so I think he's easier to get to. He's definitely more of a point per minute guy than a Kenrich or a Dort. So I can see myself having more Roby, and he seems protected no matter what if this game did play out as a blowout. Roby's out there against Montrezl Harrell and the gang. So I'm with that. But, man, yeah, no warm and fuzzies all the way around, but so many minutes at 6K or less, and even against one of the best defenses in the league. It could get there. If AD sits this one out again, LeBron James could be in another spot to pad up a free triple-double MVP campaign game. Maybe we'll have a better indication on AD status getting closer to lock. I still don't think that, if we have AD out right now, that LeBron is an exceptional tier 1 lock just because we have Kawhi without Paul George at cheaper, because we have all these AK Melos and Russell Westbrooks and Malcolm Brogdons and Domantas Sabonis, guys like that I just think there's so much upside at the AK range. And LeBron's been kind of breaking slates with overtime. So unless you thought, the Lakers played down again here and this game goes 12 rounds, then I could see myself, not having too much exposure to LeBron with or without AD. But obviously without AD, he's in another smash spot, and he's right there in the thick of things in this MVP race. And this is one of those give me games, if AD was out, that he can flirt with another trip dub. Let's see what you guys got in the live chat before we matriculate on. Paul says, I'm begging for AD to be out because the Thunder will kill in the paint. Solid Pick says Karl Towns just tweeted himself that he wasn't sure if he was going to play. The QT, the Fantasy Labs post saying he was expected to play. So the Towns said he doesn't know if he's going to play. Let me see if I can pull that up for you guys. Oh, man. Towns. Karl Anthony Towns. Let's pull it up on the main screen, y'all. So Shams tweeted after recovering from COVID and missing the past 13 games, T-Wolves Cat expect to return. Cat said, this is news to me. Last time I checked, I was going to go through shoot around and see how I feel. Underlying conditions and COVID don't mix well. So, Cat probably goes back to questionable now, right? Anyway. Des says, you couldn't pay my entry fee for me to play Dort. Lorenza might have some Horford. If no AD, he would be the de facto point guard. I can see that. If you haven't seen more than a game, you're sleeping on greatness. I don't know if I've seen that. Let me see. Lakers paint defense was porous last game. I can see that. What's up, Giuliano? How are you? Hope you're doing all right. Paul says, LeBron got to be ticked with how the Lakers are playing. Effective communication skills. You love it. You love it. OT not. Anyway, we got one game left on the docket. Wanted to invite you guys into the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. It's looking a little something like this. If you guys want to hang out with me and the Vipers up until lock every day, we have a pre-lock voice chat. You click on NBA voice chat, and we're in here. And we're talking picks, we're talking prop bets, we're talking life, we're talking sometimes music, and we have some fun, and it just crashed. So if you guys want to be part of that, add that to your daily process. I think it's probably my favorite part of the VIP product at RunDFS.com. In addition to access to the Discord, you get access to the RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheets. We have them for basketball. Football's over with, but we'll have baseball pitchers and catchers in a week. Spring training in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then of course April looks like is when we're gonna have baseball back in the mix. And I got to be honest, guys. I know you guys are here mostly for my basketball content that gets the most views, and NFL I'm really good at. But baseball, I think, is where my mind does the best work. Like, I just understand it. And my baseball spreadsheet, I think, is the best. I'm trying to be humble, but I think it's the best DFS product for MLB out there. So you guys stick around for baseball when the time comes. We'll lead you in the right direction, because the spreadsheet that we've created is so strong and so powerful that I think it'll help you guys understand the nuances of baseball just as a game, and then of course understand the variance of it as a DFS sport. So lots of variants, but I love the spreadsheet. Anyway, get access to that. Go to rundfs.com. Make yourself an account. Hit that thumbs up if you guys want to show some love here. You ain't got to get VIP. I get it. Wallets are thin. But just hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. That is enough support. And then I will love you forever. See what you guys got in the live chat before we get to the main event. Paul says, I wish Dejounte Murray tweeted yesterday. Back-to-back fatal Spurs. He lost 7 family members passed from Kobe. Yeah, it's tough. The Anthony Gundecker MLB tools are the truth. Bomb detector. See, Russ knows. Des says, do you understand the pitch types versus batter stats too? Can't wait to see what you got. I do have a pitch report. I think in baseball DFS, paralysis by analysis is too real. Too many people get caught up in what should happen long term when it comes to players and stat neutralization. For DFS, that means nothing to me. So yeah, all that good stuff. I promise you, man. The bomb detectors fire, the index porters fire. I just love it. But it can be very hard to explain and very hard to understand. And I don't want to get lost in that in a random NBA stream 2 months out. Mark, I won $3K New Year's, had a legitimate chance at winning $75K, but Covington laid an egg. It happened since then. Probably lost $3K or more. Last year I went around $20K, but lost $6K. DFS insane. Yeah, the DFS swings are definitely wild. If you choose the life of a mass century tournament player, you're definitely going to see swings very, very much like a night at the poker table, right? Couple fire hands, and then the dealer starts hating you, and you get some bad hands. It is what it is. I have a video cooking on how you guys can diversify your approach to daily fantasy. I had I don't want to say anything yet because I don't want to lose out on something. But Monday, I'll be able to say a lot more about a upcoming partnership that will help you guys reward your daily research a little bit more than just playing DraftKings or FanDuel. Main event tonight, Milwaukee Bucks at the Phoenix Suns. Project starting five for the Bucks: Dante DiVincenzo, Bryn Forbes, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Brook Lopez taking on Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Frank Kaminsky, and DeAndre Ayton. A 226.5 total, 4.5 point spread in favor of the visiting Milwaukee Bucks. Last slate on the docket, we know Drew Holiday inactive. We didn't know that at lock last game. And that's going to give us an opportunity to, one, pin some more ball handling responsibilities for Middleton and Giannis. And then maybe the Bucks defense takes a small step backward without Drew, likely their best guard defender. But what it does do, it helps us buy in a little bit more on guys like DiVincenzo, maybe punting a Bryn Forbes a little bit more. It is the Phoenix Suns, and when they're full strength, they're a top defense as well. But this is the unstoppable force, immovable object. We look at that team metrics chart and we look at the pace. Phoenix Suns, the second slowest pace in basketball. Meanwhile, the Milwaukee Bucks are top 8 in pace, and when it comes to defensive rating, the Phoenix Suns are top 8 in basketball, and the Milwaukee Bucks top 10-ish as well. So normally wouldn't expect a high-scoring game, but offensively, I think the Bucks will push the scoreboard high, even against a tough defense like Phoenix. And then it'll be a matter of does Phoenix keep up? The Phoenix offensive rating is about 8 points lower than the Bucks offensive rating. That's points per 100 possessions, but the spread is just 4.5. So if it did stay close, right? What helps you keep in the game against the Milwaukee Bucks is your ability to shoot the ball from behind the arc. The Bucks allowing 43 points via the 3-ball per game. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad 3-point defending team. It also correlates with them having big leads and teams just having to chuck threes. But with their pace and style of play, other teams have to fire back. They're giving up the fourth most points via the 3-ball, and like I said, their best guard defender out. So do we trust the Devin Booker here today to chuck the 3? Chris Paul could chuck the 3, but are these guys really in their price range, the guys we want to play here, right? I think Chris Paul is right at the same price as Malcolm Brogdon, and I feel more inept and more susceptible to rostering a high level of Malcolm Brogdon, and I just might be out on Chris Paul. Same with Devin Booker. He's right there at that $8K price range where the same guys, right? The Brogdons, the LaMelos, not far from Russell Westbrook. Like, there's so many pivots that seem to make a little bit more sense and a little bit safer that I'm okay with staying away from the Suns for the most part, but I'm not shocked if one or two Suns end up being a great play at the end of the night. I can't play every great play, and I just don't have that high level of confidence with the Suns to get there. I do think there's somebody on the Bucks that I want in a lot of my lineups as some scattered late night hammers. And I don't mean I want one Buck. I mean I want some exposure to the Bucks across my lineups. So I always have somebody at the end to kind of maybe keep me in the hunt. Chris Middleton, somebody I'm curious with early on. Much is made of the Mikal Bridges defense. Middleton in that game against Denver, 12 assists. Is that assist rate going up a direct correlation on Drew Holiday being out? I think it's very likely the case. If we go pull up the Milwaukee Bucks on-off court tool, I am curious to, just kind of see the overall assist rate for Middleton. It's at 25.6% when we do nothing. If we take off Drew Holiday and put on Middleton, does it rise much higher than 25% this season? It goes to 34%. So yeah, almost a 9-10% assist rate increase. So I think it's not unfair to say that Middleton's floor could even rise in the absence of Drew Holiday. And we also know he's a he's a long guard. He can go out there and get those rebounds as well. So with 20 real points, could he flirt with a poor man's triple-double? I think he could. Is 7.9K a little bit underpriced here? Maybe. So I might have Middleton scattered as a tier 3. Giannis is Giannis. We like Giannis, play Giannis. And then DiVincenzo versus Forbes. They might be scattered. I don't know that I'm getting any type of crazy price on DiVincenzo, but I do think 25 to 35 fantasy points is kind of a range of outcome. And Bryn Forbes on DraftKings might just fall because of his price point. DJ Augustine, a more pure point guard option for them. Will he get some run at that price point to be a solid addition? Maybe. Yeah, I think I'll have some Bucks, but I think I might have all the Bucks at like tier 3 levels. Let's see what you guys in the live chat before we move on and get out of here. Damian says Sabonis. Yeah, Sabonis definitely has a case, at least on DraftKings. Sabonis will definitely be a tier 1 and probably on FanDuel as well. Lorenzo says, I won 5K doing the World Series. Brandon Lau in the MVP spot. Oh, man. You think CP3 plays? So Chris Paul is questionable. Let's pull up the information on him. Hamstring questionable against the blah, blah, blah. I missed Monday's game due to a sore right. So if Chris Paul didn't play, I don't know that I'd trust the Suns to stay in this game. Their defense definitely took a step back in the small sample size without Chris Paul against the Cavs, right? One of the worst offensive teams in basketball. And if that was the case, then I think the Bucks cover and win pretty handily if they continue that trend. So I'm going to hope Chris Paul plays, and I would imagine a 5-point or less spread would indicate that maybe Vegas is at least projecting Chris Paul to play. But if Chris Paul was out, Devin Booker definitely showed us his potential to be 50-plus fantasy points, but I don't know that the Suns keep that game close if Paul's out. That Bridges defense is real. Yeah. Solid picks is if Paul's out, got to stack Phoenix in fast-paced game. Holiday is their main defense, and he's out. Give me Book, Bridges, more on FanDuel. That's fair. I definitely don't have any quarrels against that. I am horrible at DFS baseball. I think DFS baseball, for as much variance as it has, is probably it's definitely my favorite sweat because I can sweat out just about all the pertinent at bats that I need to sweat out. But I also just love it because my lineups don't just get thrown in the trash 30 minutes before lock because somebody got scratched or something like that. Baseball lineups come out oftentimes hours in advance. Pitching doesn't yes, some pitchers will get scratched, but it's not like a a thing. Sure, the COVID stuff will make things weird and games get scratched, but for the most part, just watching weather and you're just playing off numbers, and it's a lot less stressful and encompassing, and it's really just stack intensive. So I definitely love baseball DFS, but it's the edge is a lot. The edge isn't the same comparative as to other sports, right? Like, it's not a value-based sport where I need this amount other than pitchers. Like, if I play Mike Trout, he hits a homer at 5K, and then I play a $2,500 catcher, he hits a homer. It's not like, the Trout's irrelevant. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't want to get lost in the sauce here. Devin Booker night, if no CP3. I missed out on Devin Booker night last time. I didn't miss out. I was low on Devin Booker last time without Chris Paul because I just had higher interest in some of the 7-8K alternatives like Zach LaVine. But I don't know where I would stand today. Obviously, he'd be tier 3, but I don't know if I'd tier 1 him. MLB is the best. I love MLB. It's a lot better than any other sport. I definitely, I don't think that's fair, but it's my favorite. But I love all the DFS sports. Hit that like. But yeah, guys, if you've enjoyed the stream, we'll be back at it tomorrow for the Thursday night. Usually Thursday's a little bit smaller. See what we're looking like tomorrow. Tomorrow we got a 2-4-5 game slate. So tomorrow I'll probably go live at 4 Eastern, 3 Central. And it's a late lock anyway. So, yeah, definitely would be a later stream. Raptors at Celtics, Heat at the Rockets, Pacers at the Pistons, Magic and the Warriors, Vooch versus Curry. I'll take that. And the Sixers at the Blazers, all within 2.5 hours, 3 hours of each other. So, check that out for tomorrow. Look for me at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. I could even make a case to go live 30 minutes later, considering how small that slate is. But I'll have it scheduled here on the channel. We'll definitely keep you guys informed. Any lasting questions, comments, concerns, throw them at me. I'm gonna probably go find a little snacky before I get in that Discord chat. I'm really struggling at center tonight. Gunn, I could really use some advice tonight. Who do you like at center? Is that a FanDuel question or a DraftKings question? That's pretty important. Mark says, I got to make a rule to stack the worst team every slate. If it hits, you win it. Oh, come on, bro. I will speak for Rod. He is my tier 1, maybe 2. Devin Booker? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fair. Like, I don't think, like, just because I have different guys in my tier 1s, that just means that's the guys that I feel the strongest about. And that's just where I'm going to hang my hat that particular night. But I can look at other people's player pool, and like if I had Kawhi as my tier 1 tonight, and then I looked at you had Bradley Beal, to me they both make sense. This is just the way I'm going. So even if we tier guys different, doesn't mean I disagree with your line of thinking. It's just kind of the way I'm going, right? Everyone plays those pre-flop pocket aces a little different than the next man. Raptors at Celtics. Toronto won't play full minutes tonight versus Washington. All right. Gunn has some haters. He just had 27 likes and someone took it away. Oh, no. People just don't mess with the likes, man. It is what it is. DK question, center for tonight. So center on DraftKings is strong because Sabonis and Porzingis are center eligible guys. Even Giannis Antetokounmpo is a center eligible guy. So easily those would be the apple of my eyes. Zion's there. Chris Boucher's in the mix. I think center's really strong on DK. On FanDuel, I don't feel like it's as strong because all those guys are power forwards, like all of those guys. But I don't think on DraftKings it's difficult at all. So if I had to rank my favorite centers, Sabonis is probably my favorite floor stealing combo guy. We talked about Zion. He only played 20 minutes last night. Foul trouble. He's in a great matchup. Porzingis has been over a point per minute as far as the eye can see. He's in a spot that he just crushed. Chris Boucher, maybe there's a case that Anunoby comes back and maybe those minutes come from somewhere. I think most of the minutes will just come from Norman Powell and maybe Lowry plays less minutes, but Boucher at 6K has been super, super strong, so I like him quite a bit. Who else do we got that's center eligible tonight? Capella has a case for a high rebound game. J-Val just dropped 50. Like, I think center is really, really strong. So I don't know if maybe you're struggling with choosing out of those guys, but I just think center, you can go so many ways with center tonight, high and low and mid-tier. I mean, even Horford and Baisley have cases. And then Naz Reid would probably open back up if Cat's out. I would say if Cat's out, maybe that's a hit to Kawhi potentially in a game that might blow out. But all he does is drop 50, right? Capella goes ham tonight. Gun. I think Capella could have a high rebound game. Could I get a 15-15 out of him? I don't know, maybe. Gun always wins. Play who he told you to. I don't tell you guys who to play. I just tell you who I'm playing. I'm not an advice giver. I just tell you what I would do. You know? Anyway, twitter.com/Gundacker. If you guys got anything else for me, hit me up there. Quan says 4,700 util. Sure, let's see what we can do for you, Quan. Is that Monte Morris? Monte Morris is interesting if you think that game blows out. He does have some upside at that price point. He'd probably be the first guy because I do kind of think I'm going to prepare for a blowout in that game. So I guess Monte Morris on that one. Give this video a thumbs up. I always do better in FanDuel when I do. I appreciate that, G-Man. G-Man Choi. Hope you guys crush it tonight. Twitter.com/GundackerSports. That's where you guys can get in touch with me. DMs are open. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. I love each and every one of you. Crush it tonight. Good luck. God bless.